covering West Michigan to protect and alert you. This is News Channel 3 on your CW7, live at 10.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people.
After 3.5 days of anxiety and confusion over who will be the next president, the Associated Press and CBS are projecting former Vice President Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. President Trump is pushing back after the Associated Press called Pennsylvania and Nevada for Biden, which would deliver Democrats the White House with 290 electoral votes. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has new developments from Washington.
For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance.
Pledging to heal the wounds of a nation split, Joe Biden vowed it a top priority for his future administration. Meanwhile, outside the White House Saturday night, a crowd celebrating the president's projected loss, taking over the same street they had to flee back in June for a photo op. The president was golfing at his Virginia country club when the Associated Press broke the news. Trump's ride home, flanked first by supporters, eventually outnumbered by those at times chanting, "You're fired." But in a defiant written statement, the president refused to concede, insisting the election can and should be settled in the courts.
Obviously, he's not going to concede when at least 600,000 ballots are in question.
The campaign filed another lawsuit Saturday, this time in Arizona, over contested ballots and confusion they allege caused by inexperienced workers on new voting machines. The president encouraged by his supporters, telling him to continue the battle, Democrats vowing that fight is done.
The long, dark night in America is over, and a new dawn is coming.
And also tonight, a flurry of emails from the RNC and the Trump campaign soliciting donations for what they're calling the Election Defense Task Force. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Today, oversight committees in the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives voted to issue subpoenas to the State Bureau of Elections. Lawmakers called an emergency session to investigate vote count and the election process. Republican lawmakers say this isn't an attempt to change the outcome of Tuesday's election, but say they believe there are enough concerns to warrant an investigation. Democrats disagree, calling into question the motive for an investigation.
Some of them I know are not concerning, and then there are some that I think we need to look into seriously. And if we can show as a committee that everything was above board, that the election results are what they are, as I personally believe they probably are, that would tamp down the fire.
If we devolve to a standard where any level of question screeches our democracy to a halt, we don't have a workable democracy anymore. There has to be some orderly process for which you decide whether questions are legitimate.
The committees didn't release timelines for how the investigation will move forward. They say they'll look for firsthand accounts from eyewitnesses of alleged irregularities. People across the country are celebrating Biden and Harris's projected win while others are protesting. Here in Michigan, people on both sides are expressing what needs to be done next. News Channel 3's Tavares Haywood joins us now live from Kalamazoo with a look at what people are saying here. Hi, Tavares.
Hey there, Callie. Biden supporters say that this is the shift America needed, while Trump supporters are demanding a recount. Some celebrated by dancing. Others took to the streets demanding fairness. In Kalamazoo, community organizer Corianna McDowell says the presumptive election results show that America is ready for change.
It means a lot. It means a lot for us women. It means a lot for us African Americans. But to see that the actual change is going in the direction that our voice has been heard, as you've heard me say many times, let your voice be heard. And that has now happened, and so we have to move forward and continue to make sure that we do not get quiet again, but continue to push for what we're working for.
Hundreds of Trump supporters gathered at the Capitol building in Lansing demanding a recount in Michigan. Although Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson discredits any evidence of voting irregularities or ballot counting issues, Trump supporters still believe something wasn't right about this election.
Nobody would be out here protesting if Trump had legitimately lost the election. The problem is that there's too much fraud going on to know who actually won.
Overseers being, pushed out from the vote in Detroit, and I just want my vote to count.
President Trump said he will not concede. Biden supporters say despite the potential nasty transfer of power, Biden will protect the democracy for all.
There is a lot to work to be done and to change, but this is our first step in making sure that happens, removing who we had currently in the last 4 years.
Yeah, some Republicans stand firm that this election was stolen from President Trump. Some Democrats I spoke with today say America has spoken, and we still could be a few days away before we actually know who the president is. Reporting in Kalamazoo, Tavarius Haywood, News Channel 3.
All right, thanks, Tavares. Well, one group in Michigan is celebrating the power of voters. Today, We Make Michigan held voters-decided celebrations all across the state. This is a video of today's events in Grand Rapids. Organizers say they're lifting the power and the will of voters who turned out to make their voices heard.
And it was something that I felt was important to participate in because we need to respect our democracy, and the people have spoken, and I think every count is very valuable.
Similar celebrations were also taking place in Detroit, Benton Harbor, Traverse City, and Sault Ste. Marie. We're also getting reaction from West Michigan Congressman Fred Upton. Our South Bend sister station spoke with Congressman Upton on Tuesday night. Here's what he has to say about a potential President Biden.
He was actually very instrumental. When we passed my legislation, 21st Century Cures, a bill to speed up the approval of drugs and devices, we included $1 billion for cancer research that we actually called after his son, Bo, the Bo Biden Cancer Research Moonshot Initiative. We worked together.
Congressman Upton also says he believes Biden would look to govern in a bipartisan way. Meanwhile, Governor Gretchen Whitmer is congratulating the former vice president on his projected win. Whitmer endorsed Biden back in March, just days before the Michigan primary. The governor also says she's looking forward to working with the federal government to tackle COVID-19. Adding, quote, with record turnout, people knew what was on the line, and they turned out in droves to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. With the election behind us, now is the time for our nation to come together. We have a common enemy, and it is COVID-19, not one another. All right, let's take a live look now over downtown Kalamazoo. It was a beautiful, warm day across West Michigan. Meteorologist Will Haney is in the Weather Alert Center. And Will, this warmth just isn't done yet.
Yeah, and really good timing. Keep in mind the restaurants loving this because it's so warm, at least in the evening, that a lot of restaurants still able to keep those patios open. I know that's good news with the pandemic and everything going on. As we look live, though, right now in Marshall, you can see things really, really quiet. Our high temperatures today officially in the 70s in Kalamazoo. That's the third 70-degree day we've hit so far this month. 71 in Grand Rapids actually set a record from all the way back, I believe, in the early 1900s. Yeah, 1916. Our temperatures right now have cooled off. We're in the lower 50s under mostly clear skies. 57 right now in Allegan. A little bit warmer in South Haven, too, at about 56 degrees. Really quiet across the Midwest. We have high pressure in sinking motion in play, which means the cloud cover and any sort of precipitation really, honestly, hundreds of miles away. Our temperature trend these next several days, we're going to be setting some records, honestly, these next several days. And then by Wednesday, Thursday, a little bit closer to our averages for this time of year. As far as your fastcast for your Sunday, look for increasing clouds tomorrow afternoon, but still plenty of sun, and 70s are back in full force. We'll talk about, again, how many more records we could set in just a few minutes.
Michigan is seeing its highest daily increase of COVID-19 infections since March 10th. On your screen right now is a look at the state's latest numbers. In the last 24 hours, more than 6,000 people have tested positive for the virus. That brings the total number of cases since March up to 207,000. The state is also reporting 65 new deaths. So far, more than 128,000 people have recovered from COVID-19 here in Michigan. Western Michigan University says it'll be parting ways with Cooley Law School. This week, WMU announced it'll be ending its affiliation with the law school. In a statement, university officials say the affiliation will end in order to offset the school's difficulties in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. School officials say both the university and law school will continue to operate as normal after the agreement is dissolved. It'll officially go into effect in November of 2023. After that, Cooley Law School will no longer have the WMU name. Tonight, veterans from across West Michigan are staying warm thanks to the help of a group of volunteers. People were out bright and early in Battle Creek for the Heat for Heroes firewood drive. Volunteers cleared out woods, processed it, and then donated it to veterans to use as firewood. Organizers say they decided to do this event this year because of all the people impacted by COVID-19, saying there are some veterans who depend on firewood to heat their homes, but may not be able to afford it this year.
One of those things that people don't think of for just a necessity. You know, they think of somebody that's going through hard times. They think of, well, you might need some help with food or just help around the house, something like that. They don't think of, sometimes people just need help staying warm.
Organizers say the response from both veterans and volunteers is humbling. They say their goal was to give away about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of firewood. In weeks, Michigan's 16 electors will be meeting to cast their votes for the next president and vice president of the United States. Hear from one West Michigan elector and why he says this vote is so important.
Thank you for turning to News Channel 3 on your CW7 at 10. The news continues right now.
On December 14th, Michigan's Democratic presidential electors will be casting the state's 16 votes.
We all assemble from the different corners of Michigan in Lansing, and we actually formally sign our certificates that we are voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Kalamazoo Township Clerk and longtime Democratic Party activist Mark Miller will cast the vote for Michigan's 6th district. He was chosen for his commitment to the Democratic Party throughout the years. If Michigan voters would have chosen President Trump for the 46th presidential election, former Democrat, now Republican Rose Rook would have cast the vote for the 6th district. Miller says it's gratifying to cast an electoral vote this election.
Donald Trump has been such a divisive figure, violated so many norms, and frankly told thousands and thousands of documented lies. And yet, he still was able to make this a close-run election. That should give us pause. And I think a lot of us, we'd like to come together and be united as a country and not have this fierce partisan divide.
I asked Miller if he thought the Electoral College should be abolished. He says he thinks it's time for us to elect one person, one vote, as we do everything else.
An absolutely beautiful day across West Michigan earlier on. 70s for the third time so far this month, and we're going to add on to that tally before it's all said and done this week. Our temperatures right now really mild for this time of year. We're in the lower 50s. This is a little bit more typical in Kalamazoo, at least, of where our high temperature should be. But yeah, it's after 10 o'clock and we're still seeing some pretty nice temps on the map. Here's satellite and radar. Really quiet, as noted, across the Great Lakes and really the entire Midwest. What's doing this is there's a really large ridge of high pressure built across basically the entire eastern United States. The cooler temperatures, they're right now concentrated out on the west coast. That trough, that dip in the jet stream, going to come into play for us by the middle of the week. It'll send some energy our way. But for now, this high pressure system, that sinking motion in the atmosphere, keeping our weather really, really quiet, and the clockwise flow around that high, bringing some really warm air our way. As far as the almanac for today, 71 the high. Our normal high, again, 52 degrees. We weren't quite record worthy today, but these next several days are likely to break some records. 74 tomorrow, 75 on Monday. Both of those days feature some sunshine too, so it'll be really spectacular. The record for tomorrow, 71, so we should crush that. And then similar on Monday by a couple degrees. Another record we're going to likely touch on is that fact that, again, these 70-degree days, we could add on to a total of 6 by the end of the month. We've only ever seen 4 in the month of November, so that's just another record we'll likely break. But hour by hour keeps things really, really quiet tonight. We'll eventually dip into the upper 40s, I think. Tomorrow, after about lunchtime, we'll see a few clouds start to lift in from the south. That's just a little bit more low-level moisture in play. But yeah, low 70s across the board tomorrow. Our next weather maker is an area of low pressure. I mentioned that trough off to the west. That's going to kick this area of energy our way by about Tuesday, but late in the day Tuesday. Notice this is 4 p.m. Most of that rain still off to the west. A cold front will swing in late Tuesday into Wednesday. That brings the more widespread rain. I think most of that happening after dark. And as of now, doesn't really look like a soaker, about 1/4 of an inch, and some much cooler air does follow. But much cooler meaning just a little bit closer to what we typically see this time of year. 47 overnight tonight with those mild overnight temps. As far as tomorrow, 47 with a little bit more cloud cover, but still plenty of sunshine. Keeping an eye on Ada, Tropical Storm Ada, now a little bit south of Cuba, likely to cross Cuba here in the next 24 hours, eventually going to have some impacts for the southern tip of Florida in the form of several inches of rain, probably on the order of about 5 to 10 inches, and a storm surge for the Keys, for example, at about 2 to 4 feet. It'll be a fairly strong tropical storm as it moves on past. As far as your Maple Auto Group 7-day forecast shows, again, a stretch of 70s continuing these next 3 days. The big drop in temperatures again Tuesday into Wednesday. After that, we'll have high temperatures in the low 50s and upper 40s, and our lows back into the 30s by Thursday. One thing I do want to mention, you can spot the International Space Station if you're up early tomorrow morning. That is 6:15 to 6:19. Look in the west-northwest sky to the southeast. Pretty cool thing that you can always try and check out.
That is really cool.
Yeah, if you've never tried, it's really neat when you plan it out, and it's like the ISS, they run a tight ship up there. It's always right on time. You get to see it streak across the sky.
Tight international spaceship, that is.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Will. Well, Gull Lake Soccer made their first state championship appearance in nearly 3 decades. Luke Edwards will tell us if the Blue Devils could bring home the title.
At 11.
Welcome back, everybody. Michigan and Michigan State both on the road. The Wolverines traveling to 13th ranked Indiana, a team they haven't lost to since 1987. Michigan State heading to Hawkeye country for their first meeting since 2017. Let's start with the Maize and Blue. Paw product Carson Barnhart getting his first career start, but it was the Hoosiers scoring first. Wolverines jump offside, giving them a free play, and the Hoosiers take advantage. Michael Penix Jr. goes up to Miles Marshall, who plucks it out the treetops. 7-0 Hoosiers. Michigan answers on the ensuing drive. Joe Milton going deep to the back of the end zone. Cornelius Johnson, a diving snag to tie it at 7. However, Indiana would lead 24-7 at the half. Wolverines trying to mount a comeback. Joe Milton to the air again. This time, Ronnie Bell rings one up, but just too little too late. Indiana winning this one 38-21. The Spartans have won their last 3 matchups with Iowa, looking to make it 4, but the Hawkeyes had other plans. Spencer Petras connects with Brandon Smith, 14-0 Iowa in the first quarter. Second quarter, Spartans punting out of their own end zone, a line drive right to Charlie Jones, and he takes it 54 yards. Ouch, Charlie, that's a backbreaker. 35-0 at the half. Early third quarter, and Sparty on the doorstep. Tyler Hunt goes in motion. He gets the rock, and the former Goebbels Tiger on the hunt for the end zone. He gets in, and that would be the only points for Michigan State. Iowa going on to win 49-7. Back here in the state of Michigan, Gull Lake Soccer made the trip to Comstock Park for the first boys state championship appearance in 27 years. The Blue Devils taking on DeWitt for the Division II state title. These two teams already played once earlier in the season. Gull Lake winning 2-0. An early exit in last year's postseason fueled the fire that got the Blue Devils to this championship match. First half, just a few minutes in, a nice through ball is stopped by Patrick Woodbury, but DeWitt Renwick nearly scores on a team he shares a name with. Just missed the top corner to keep it level. Scoreless at the half. Roni Suleimani making a run. And the keeper's the only one to beat, but Woodbury, the aggressive play on the ball, keeps the Blue Devils off the board. No goals in regulation. 82nd minute, a clearance attempt finds the foot of Tyler Korstange. He feeds Roni Suleimani, taking a touch, and he finally finds the back of the net just inside the far post. That's the game winner. The Blue Devils are the Division II boys soccer state champions.
I think if you look at them right now, I've never seen bigger smiles on their faces. And yeah, it's satisfying, right? Because the second the summer started, this was our goal. This was our goal to get to here, and there was a sense of business-like atmosphere since day one, and we never left that part of things.
Amazing. I mean, I've watched my dad win 3 of them back to back to back, and for me to finally get one, it feels amazing.
It feels so good. This is what we've worked for the past 2-3 months, and to be able to actually say that we've won a state championship is very nice.
All right, congrats Blue Devils on that win. Well, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas at Walt Disney World. Here's a sneak peek of the resort's new holiday decor. The wreaths have been hung, the lights strung, and trees trimmed in 3 of their theme parks. Right now, visitors can enjoy the decorations at Disney's Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. My personal favorite. Will, I see you want to say something. Tell me. Say it ain't
It's
too early for you, huh?
Early.
Huh.
That's my hot take. Our producer Andy just said wrong in my ear.
I love Christmas decorations and everything, but I think maybe middle of November.
Post Thanksgiving.
No, there's just not enough time.
We're going to do a Twitter poll on this later.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, well, let's look at your forecast. You know, one thing I will say, if you're trying to get an early jump on maybe hanging some lights, tomorrow, Monday, pretty solid. 70s and sun before the cooler air later in the week.
You said it.
And I love,
Turn.
hey, I love
Take
the
to
holidays.
Twitter. It's the people's choice.
I do.